All right, welcome to the Meet the Candidates Forum for the special election for the open select board seat. We have Ken Willett and Kathy Cassio with us, and we're going to answer some questions from the community. So first, I would like to thank Ware Community Television for hosting and broadcasting this forum. I'm Paula Ouimet, I'm the editor of the Ware News. So we are going to start by hearing from each candidate so they can talk a little bit about themselves. So Ken, we're going to start with you, if you would like to tell us why you're here.
Hi folks, I'm Ken Willett and a candidate for the open seat on the select board. I want to thank Stanley, our good friend at Ware Public TV, and Paula and the Ware River News for making this happen today. It's a great way to reach out to the community, introduce ourselves, and share some thoughts. I'd like to take just a little bit of time and explain to you why I've decided to toss my hat in the ring. Since Lori and I moved to Ware 10 years ago and chose to make this our home, we have become involved in the town. We've been active with the Historical Commission. We volunteered at the Meeting House. And I chose to get involved with the Finance Committee and spent 5 years there, the last 3.5 as chairperson. And that's given me some good insights to the town and the needs and whatnot. I've had a chance to meet many of you. I've had a chance to work with department heads, the town manager, and the select board on moving the town forward. And my motivation is really to continue that. I see great opportunity here in Ware. I see great potential. I see wonderful people, but I also see needs. And I believe the town is looking for somebody who can bring all of those together and help facilitate a dialogue, bring some fresh perspectives, and start addressing those needs in an organized and cost-effective manner. So that's my motivation. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. Kathy?
Hi, everyone. I am Kathy Cassio. For those who don't know me, I'd be kind of surprised if too many out there don't know me. I am a lifelong resident here in town. As Ken said, I can kind of say ditto. First, I do want to thank Paula and the Ware River News for hosting the forum, also having the candidates write our letters to the Ware River News for anybody who didn't get a chance to catch that. Also for Ware TV, as always, Stan has always done a wonderful job of doing these type of things to really get the information out. Over the years, I've been here participating in all different levels of town government. I also was on the Finance Committee years ago. I most recently was on the Wastewater and Sewer Committee that was formed. I was also on the kind of now ended Hospital Review Committee. And years ago, for people who have been in town, I was also on the Board of Selectmen. And one of the reasons I really am passionate about running again is because when I was a Board of Selectmen years ago, it really is a learning process. I do come from the private sector. I have a lot of managerial experience doing evaluations and developing policies and those things. And when I was on the board years ago, what I said, if I knew then what I knew now, after years of watching, being part of the different things, I know people have seen me at town meetings. I actually started doing my own show because there was just so much information I felt that needs to get out to the public. Is kind of the reason why I wanted to step back in again. As Ken mentioned, I agree. There's so many things that need to be done in town. We really do need to move things forward. That's some of the things that I hope to be part of, to really kind of continue the process. We seem to get started and we do need to keep things moving forward, and definitely fiscally responsible for those things. Our town is not a rich town, but we can do things. We just need to do them together. And so that's why I decided, again, to put my hat in the race. And just as a reminder, the reason we have to do this special town election, for people who didn't know, last year we did have somebody that made it on the board. Unfortunately, wasn't living in town. And that's something else I want to make sure we change as we move forward, that people who represent and are voting for matters in town really should be residents of town. And I think with a lot of people, assumed that was just an automatic, but it wasn't. So thank you, and we'll look forward to this.
All right, so each candidate will have up to 3 minutes to answer these questions. So we're going to rotate who answers first. Ken, you're going to start. If anyone needs me to repeat a question, I can certainly do that. So I'm going to set my timer once I read the question, and here we go. Whether it be roads, bridges, water, sewer, or facilities and buildings, the infrastructure in Ware is aging and becoming increasingly expensive to replace and repair. What are the top 3 capital projects needed that the town should fund? How would you propose that they be funded?
Okay, so top 3 capital projects and how would they be funded? I think the first thing that comes to mind is our water system infrastructure. We know that we have a fair number of water system users who are still challenged by water that, while it meets the technical definitions of being clean water, when you put it into a glass container, occasionally, frequently, it becomes brown. I could not physically drink that myself. So I think we have to develop a clear plan and communicate to those folks how to address that. Now, there is work underway for that. We've just made an investment in cleaning the water tanks. We've made an investment at the last annual town meeting. We made funding available to go and to look at reopening another well, to repairing pumps. We're also about to undergo a water asset management study. All of those are pieces of the puzzle, but I think what's lacking is providing that in a clear manner to the users and trying to address their immediate needs. So I rank that as my number one. How will it be funded? I think it's going to be mainly from the user fees that are generated and currently being collected, as well as some long-term financing, because the water system needs are in the tens of millions of dollars. But we're going to do it in a methodical and a way that will be done through bonding and town meeting action. The second major infrastructure, the schools have made us aware that they're looking at the roofs, and the roofs are going to need to be upgraded and replaced, and they're going to pursue state building grant funds to do that, which will require a town match. So I think that's the second. The third is our town buildings. The town hall, we've put over $250,000 into it in the past several years for electrical system upgrades, for fire alarm upgrades, for updating the parking lot. But those challenges are also faced by the Public Works, which is dealing with some pretty old facilities. The water and sewer folks are dealing with old facilities as well and don't really have good, adequate working conditions. So long-term, looking at the capital needs of our town facilities and buildings across the whole town enterprise and developing a plan to do that, looking for grants where available, but also it will require debt and it will require the use of taxation to balance that. But that'll be worked out in a plan that'll be done in balance, I would suggest, in balance for the other needs of the town. So that's my top three: the water system needs, the school infrastructure needs, and lastly, the town capital building needs.
Perfect. And somehow it paused, so you might have gotten a few extra seconds. Kathy, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you ready?
No, I do appreciate it. Now, it's a big question. It's a big topic because there's a lot of different things. And what I want to say is sometimes things are moving pieces. And the other parts, just for people to know, the Board of Selectmen have a piece of this. But as Ken mentioned, as we all allude to, it really is a town. So it'll be town driven on how and how we will fund. But I first off have to totally agree. Living in town and on the water and sewer system, I absolutely see our water system as being a number one priority. It should be a focus on a regular basis. We are moving, as Ken said, in some right directions. There's committees that are that have been reformed, which I was happy about, because I do think we need those citizen-formed groups to really help drive where we're going. But with that, what I want to say is, besides the funding and getting the financing and user fees, the one thing I really want to see and I hope to push forward is that right now the Board of Selectmen are also water commissioners. I have never made sense of that because I've been around long enough that we at one point did have elected water sewer commissioners. And I really think we need to get back to that point where those people are elected and their main focus is water sewer. That's how big of an issue this is. It can't be something that's kind of talked about on one of the board's agenda items. It needs to be a sole focus. And so that's one of the things where I would really be pushing that we look for at our town meeting to add that to part of our charter again and then get the elected positions. I brought that up last year. It has not got moved forward, but that's definitely one of the things I would for all of the reasons Ken had mentioned. The second area that I really take heart in is our whole blight slum area and our vacant buildings. That has had such a detrimental effect to our feelings in town. And it bothers me when I hear people just, down our town. They say it's not the town it used to be. People that come back that used to live here, they're so disappointed. And that area, I know we can do things actually fairly quickly as long as we work together and put some plans together. There is some fundings that we can get out. We've got a great grant writer. We have great departments, and a lot of the stuff just needs to be, for me, just kind of cleaned up. I look through on Main Street and I see the overgrowth and things like that I feel like we'll feel better if we get tackling some of these areas. Vacant buildings is another big piece. Again, there are areas that we can use with our department, our own funding that we currently have, and really tackling those particular areas. And the one other one I want, so that kind of put that together, the blight areas and the vacant buildings. But the other part that I think we do need to look at is something for our youth. I guess I have to end, but I would
You
look.
got 3 seconds.
Okay, something again with the quasi pool splash pad. I think that is moving forward, but we really need to look at it, and there are grants, so there are ways of funding, but we need to look at the whole for the town.
All right, so second question will be you answering first, Kathy.
Mhm.
With increasing costs and tightening budgets for departments, equipment, and capital improvements, several towns in the region have asked taxpayers to support additional funds. Are there circumstances or projects for which you would support an override or debt exclusion?
Oh, tricky topic. I personally, you will hear me, I personally would never vote for a debt override, override. Debt exclusions and taking out loans for particular projects, absolutely, because they are specific for that, and then it goes away. When you do the Prop 2.5 override, I've been listening to people in local towns right near here that people are actually moving out of their towns because they can no longer afford the taxes that they're paying. So that has to be something that we need as a community to really look at and work for. Again, I've lived in town long enough. I do know that people in town would not back a 2.5 override. And so with that being said, if we know it, then we need to work with our department heads. We need to really start thinking outside of the box, like for equipment, for other things. Can we do something that's more on a regional basis, or maybe shared something between some of our towns that touch each other? If it's particular equipment that's only used every now and then, why should one town have to foot the whole bill? Think that way as opposed to always just more money, just more money. We see that on the federal level. It's just up the taxes when we can get more money. That to me is not the way to go. So particular projects, yes, I would look at if the town, again, it has to go to town meeting and they vote to do that debt override and debt exclusion, that's fine. Taking out loans, getting grants, but you'd never see me go for a 2.5 override. That's just not in my feelings.
All right, Ken, you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please, would you?
With increasing costs and tightening budgets for departments, equipment, and capital improvements, several towns in the region have asked taxpayers to support additional funds. Are there circumstances or projects for which you would support an override or debt exclusion?
So, in answering that question, I know what is needed is we have to have a plan that lays out what our needs are and identifies the potential impact of funding those on our existing revenue base as it exists in the town today. So a 5-year financial forecast would be very helpful, and I've made if I'm fortunate enough to serve as your select board member, that I will work with the town manager to be sure that a 5-year financial plan is presented to the board and guides us as we make our decisions. That being said, an override has a very serious consequence to the town. It's a very, it does involve raising our tax base. I know several years ago, the town enacted an underride where we moved $400,000 from our tax base and our ability to raise funds. What I can tell you is, having worked on the budgets for the past several years, is that we are beginning to see a lot of pressure between the needs of the town on an operational basis, the needs of the town on our capital needs, and what's happening with state and federal funding. We are seeing the possibility of maxing out where we are on some of our state funds for the schools. We are seeing the possibility of very tenuous right now with federal funds. We don't know what the future of those are. We have to wait till that is resolved. But in the meantime, it's putting pressure on us. So I don't want to say I will never. I don't want to say I will. What I want to say is I will consider what the needs of the town are against a 5-year financial forecast and make the call based on that. And ultimately, it will be the taxpayers, it will be the residents who decide what is the best way to go. So I won't say yes and I won't say no, but I'll say that I will decide based at the time with the information available and the best needs for the town, and leave it to the taxpayers.
All right, so Ken, you will answer the next question first. As a member of the Select Board, what next steps would you support to bring additional healthcare services to Ware and the region?
This is definitely a hot topic for the town, and we're all aware of the closure of Mary Lane and the impact that's had, and that we are seeking to bring healthcare back to town. I want to commend the Hospital Review Committee, and I want to commend the Friends of Mary Lane for the work that they've done in raising the visibility and actually putting pressure on Bay State, who at one point was ignoring the town in its want to have further discussion about healthcare, to finally coming to recognize that they need to bring healthcare to Ware. They have shared with the town a proposal that they would bring a convenient care center to town, operating 5 days a week with 3 primary care physicians to be able to deal with small matters and avoid having to go to Wings Convenient Care or someplace else. I think that's a great step first step in the right direction, and I totally support that. Well, also, we have the Mary Lane parcel has been rezoned for medical, and I totally support the town engaging with those who are interested in developing that parcel, helping market it, and bring additional healthcare resources to the community. So it's going to be a multi-pronged approach. It's going to be supporting the location of a convenient care if Bay State's able to bring its proposal to fruition, and it's going to be marketing the vacant Mary Lane parcel through a organized development scheme that will attract the most number of people to the parcel, and hopefully we get additional medical providers in town.
Kathy, do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, repeat it because I can go down so many different ways with that.
As a member of the Select Board, what next steps would you support to bring additional healthcare services to Ware and the region?
Okay, like I said, there's so many ways of going with that. As people know, I have been heavily involved in this whole healthcare piece. Besides being on the review committee, I've also become part of the residents groups that are going forward. I've actually met, and that's why it bothered me when I heard that, there wasn't healthcare people that are interested in coming to Ware. I want to say here formally, there are many interested because they do realize that we are a healthcare desert. It has been identified as that by many groups. So they are speaking with, I hate to say it, but they're speaking with the resident groups. And with that, with what's been going on for everything, as we were just talking about state funding and federal funding, there are a lot of things that are on hold. So things aren't going to happen tomorrow. It doesn't matter what's going on. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but we need to be looking at now and as future goes, how we're going to be developing the Mary Lane site. I'm very happy that the citizens came forward and designated that zone to be healthcare. That was a great first step. The other pieces I want to say is that we are working as groups looking at other entities coming in. Bay State has said that they are interested, but I am one of those skeptical people after everything we've been watching. I don't know how that's going to play out. So I unfortunately did not agree with what the board did on their vote about keeping the money just for Bay State through Bank of America. That to me was an erroneous thing that we did as a town. So if I got on the board, what I would be looking at is re-looking at some of the things that has been done, reaching out to our sister towns. Hardwick is very involved and very upset that they're not part of the conversation. I had brought this up before to the board and said, as Board of Selectmen, you should be talking to other boards in the towns because as a region, we have more say and more input to our legislator, to Boston, to our groups. Our Attorney General's been watching what's going on in our area. The more voices we have, the louder we can be to them to say what we as the citizens in these towns are looking for. A couple primary care and a little convenient care is okay, but that is not health services. We need true health services. I listen to the residents. I know what we need for our area, and I would work hard and passionately to continue that moving forward, and definitely have more of a voice being on the Board of Selectmen to do that.
All right, Kathy, this question will be for you first. What do you see as our biggest current economic challenge here and Ware? And what do you see as future economic development opportunities that might move us forward?
That's, again, the same question together. It's economic development, absolutely. Again, as I go through Main Street, I get very disheartened as I see a lot of our empty buildings, our vacant buildings, and now we'll be taking down some buildings. And I would really like to work with our Small Business Association to talk with their people, because they usually get out and kind of do a lot of surveys. They hear what's going on. What are the things that our town is doing to distract people from coming? We want to attract businesses. And I think we, as a group, and as our different forms inside our government can do that, is to reach out and say, what could we be doing to attract people, right? We've got our mill yards that we have places there that companies could be coming into. As we just saw, I love seeing Tractor Trailer came in. They took a vacant lot and made a beautiful building out of that. Those are the things we need to do, but we need to be truly business friendly. I feel like I hear it said a lot, and then when I talk to businesses that are either in business and they're having issues, or businesses trying to come in, I know there's one that was behind Snow's building that wanted to come and reopen a factory. Well, they are having so much pushback, they just went away. We've got to stop doing that. In order to build our tax base, as we were just talking about, we don't know where our funding and money is going to be coming from. Where it can come from are businesses, and we want to be particular, watch what's coming into town, but really help them to come forward so that can help with our economic development, bring jobs to town. Again, up on the healthcare center, up on the Mary Lane, I think that would be great. Again, more jobs. So.
Ken, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
What do you see as our biggest current economic challenge here and Ware? And what do you see as future economic development opportunities that might move us forward?
I know the biggest economic challenge in Ware is we rely heavily on our residential tax base. So it puts the majority of our funding needs on the residents. But that is the biggest percentage of people in Ware who are paying taxes. We generate about 85 to 90% of our taxes through the residential, the remainder about 1% through commercial, 1% through industrial, 1% through individual property tax assessments, and then some other categories. So it is by far the biggest category. So how can we take the pressure off that, if you will, and how can we encourage to bring more business and industry into town? The other thing we have to consider is what is considered business and industry today has changed considerably from when Ware was established and was the business hub for many of the areas around us. And we have to deal with that too. We have to be aware of those changes. I want to recognize what's happening at the Stoneyard Mill down on Main Street, that they have just renovated some space there and they're advertising it available. I want to recognize what the Cluett family is doing with Gabe's in bringing in an event space and the potential of a brew pub there. So there are some very positive things happening along with Tractor Supply. We need to capitalize on that. We need to get the mill yard infrastructure established so that it is open to further business. And we need to make Main Street and the Mary Lane parcel available through a consolidated marketing approach, bringing in somebody that's good at this, knows what the needs are, can package it and market it, and try to get people to town and then sell them on the value of being here in town. I think we have about 30,000 vehicles a day that come down our Main Street. We're close to the Whiskey Mountain Racetrack. We're close to some of the best fly fishing in America. We're close to UMass Amherst. We're close to the Brimfield Flea Market. All of these are opportunities to talk to people and say, you can put something here to service the needs of the people who want to enjoy those activities and benefit the town of Ware at the same time. So that's the direction I would advocate that the select board should go in if I'm elected.
All right, so this next question will go to Ken first, and this is kind of building off of the previous question on healthcare. Do you support that the current trustee should remain, or that a new trustee should be sought with regard to the trust funds meant for medical care at the now former Mary Lane Hospital site? And why do you hold this position?
Short answer, I do support Bank of America maintaining control of the trust funds and with Bay State as the beneficiary. And it plays into the voice of the residents I heard early on. Is our number one priority was to bring health care to Ware, and to bring health care to Ware as soon as possible. And when I look at the proposals with Bank of America remaining the custodian or going to the Community Foundation of Western Mass, and just the logistical setup that would be needed, Bank of America, with the funds going to Bay State and with Bay State's plan, we could have health care in Ware within the next year and a half. If the funding were to go through the Community Foundation of Western Mass, they acknowledge that they don't have experience in managing the distribution of funds for medical purposes. They would need to bring a consultant. And the Mary Lane Foundation, I believe, is illustrated as being the receiver of that money and then distributing the funds. To my understanding, the Mary Lane Foundation hasn't been established. We don't know how long it would take to establish that. We don't know what the result would be when they advertise to the community of having the funds available. So on balance, I really think it's a matter of time. I served 19 years as a firefighter EMT working on an ambulance of my 32 years in the fire service. I saw many cases that we transported to the hospital that could have been prevented had somebody had access to primary care, to convenient care. In the month of December of 2024, our Quabog connector did about 150 Bay State transports for residents in town. We have people in town who need access to care in town as soon as possible. I believe it contributes to a healthier community, and it is part of the overall picture of how we bring healthcare to town. It's not the only solution, but I believe on balance, getting healthcare to our residents quicker is the optimal way, and I support the funds being distributed through Bank of America to Bay State.
Kathy, would you like me to repeat the question?
No.
You got it. All right.
This is one that is at the heart of me. As I said, I've been in healthcare for many years, my whole career, on the clinician level, on the management level, on all the different pieces. And I worked at Mary Lane, so that was one part. I worked at Bay State, which is another part. So I do know a lot of history. But what's going on now, and I alluded to this a little bit before. So just to let people know, Bank of America, who has been entrusted with the funds and who's had the funds for years, can only and will only distribute it to one entity, being Bay State. Okay, so hopefully I can explain this so right in my time. So with it being Bank of America and with the Board of Selectmen saying, yes, okay, we agree, keep it with Bank of America, the only health care that will be funded is anything that Bay State deems okay, or whatever. It can only go one route. Right now, there are immediate funds that are available because it's been on hold and that money has grown. And what we really wanted it to do, and this was done, and this is the hard part, we had groups that came in. We had a group from Worcester area that came in as a foundation, the Worcester Foundation, and we had the Western Foundation of Western Mass come and actually give a talk over at the Senior Center to really help explain how the foundations work. And both of those foundations were very amicable. They both said, we work well together. Either one would be a good fit for the town of Ware. And the reason the residents actually moved forward and chose the Community Foundation of Western Mass was because we're part of their geography. They actually come in and deal with Hampshire County. They do many things, and I don't want to say that Ken's wrong, but they are very well equipped to distribute medical monies. That's what they do. They are a foundation that helps do that. They can even give out grants to help in people that they're working with. They are an excellent group, and the main thing with them, if I can say anything here, is when you give it to a foundation like the Community Foundation of Western Mass, they can distribute the monies separately. So it could go to, let's say right now, our school nurses have some issues that they need some funding for. That money could be addressed for there because it's helping in healthcare for our area. Let's say Hardwick needed something. They could also access that. Another entity that we've been talking to that wants to come in and needs a little seed money in order to get their programs going, whether it be New England Wound, whether it be the Red Cross wanting to set up something, whether it be PCP, whether it be dentistry. Oh boy. I'm going to take 2 more seconds there just to find out. They're able to distribute the money in different areas. When you go with just Bank of America, it will solely and only go to Bay State. And that's why we were so dead against that. I hope I said it right.
All right, so the next question will go to you first, Kathy.
Can I continue?
We're going to go different topic now. The town has been a longtime supporter of the Ware River Valley Domestic Violence Task Force. How would you see your role in supporting the task force's efforts, and do you have any new ideas on what role the town can play in supporting the task force and the community's efforts to support safe and healthy relationships, especially for young people?
Oh, wow. One of the things I didn't tell you about is that in my years past, I was a volunteer with domestic violence when I actually worked out in the Bay State area. And another piece that is so important, it's only grown. So I guess what I would be looking for, again, that could be some of the monies that we could utilize if we get the trust fund money back into the hands of the local groups here, which is that other piece that we're talking about. There are those funds that could be used for programs such as this. I know when we spoke to the Board of Health, they didn't even realize all the things that were going on that we've been talking about in the healthcare sector. But regarding to domestic violence, absolutely, I would be backing anything that they could come forward with. Thinking outside the box, that would be one, is that I would be looking for our trust funds to be able to help access to groups like that are in sewer need. Again, we do have great grant writers if there's ways that we can be accessing that. Again, I think as a region, we should be looking at things too, not just solely each individual town. I think, again, when we do it as a group, we have a better chance of moving things forward and getting that information out. Definitely using public platforms such as Ware TV. I know I've seen, and I would encourage them doing more social engagement out at the parks, out at our different events that we have, because for me, what I've realized is getting information out. So many times people are in these situations and they don't know where to go. So more access, more communication, more availability into our schools, getting the information out in the school systems. I don't know if the teachers and the nurses and things there know about what availabilities we have, but these are those kinds of programs where access to funding is so important and so vital, and why, again, I would push for us to be able to have that kind of need met with the different monies that we could get at our disposal.
Ken, would you like me to repeat?
Please.
The town has been a longtime supporter of the Ware River Valley Domestic Violence Task Force. How would you see your role in supporting the task force's efforts? And do you have any new ideas on what role the town can play in supporting the task force and the community's efforts to support safe and healthy relationships, especially for young people?
The Domestic Violence Task Force has done a good job for the town of Ware in raising awareness through many of its activities and its engagements. And it has walks, it has material available. As a select board member, what I would work with my fellow board members on is bringing the Domestic Violence Task Force and assembling those other town departments that can be active supporters of their cause and their mission. For example, the police department, which very often has to respond to these, and I know they are engaged in the Domestic Violence Task Force. The fire department, which unfortunately may have to transport people who are involved in it. The school department, because they see it on a daily basis with their students and what is the impact that's happening with the students. The health department, for whatever resources they can bring to it, and certainly our grant writer to see how they can support that. But as a select board member, what would benefit me, and I think the town at large, would be to bring these resources together and to develop a plan. And with that plan, go forward with elevating the awareness activities, but also ensuring that our intervention activities are based on solid, supportive findings that can help the individual who might be subject of domestic violence, as well as deal with the perpetrator of it, but also to deal with the response element of it, so that if we do find there is somebody who is a victim of domestic violence, that we can treat that person and their family. And that is where it reaches out not only to what's happening in the home, but what may be impacting the school. So that is what I would, as a select board member, I would move forward to do.
All right, Ken, this next one starts with you. Often we hear where has changed, or it's not what it used to be, or things used to be better. What does that mean to you, and what would you change?
So as a child of the 60s, where Donna Reed was my idyllic mom, and balancing that with having to hide under our desks in case of the nuclear threat that we focused at the time, I too longed for a time when life was a little simpler and different and whatnot. However, I know that there are so many things happening external in my life that have changed my life. The same thing has happened to Ware. Ware was founded as an agricultural community. Our original center of town was down by the Meeting House. When the Industrial Revolution and the availability of water power took hold, the center of town moved to Main Street, and the mills became very common. The mills were big employers. They drove commerce. Everything was localized at that point. Then we know that in the 30s, we lost that. The mills went to the south. Buildings became vacant. That's where the town that can't be licked came from, when the members came together and raised the money to buy the assets of the Otis Manufacturing Company. Interesting, when that happened, they sold shares. The shares were printed in English, Polish, and French to recognize the diversity of the town back then. But now things have changed, and our vibrant Main Street has evolved into what many mill communities face today. But if you look on Route 9, if you look on Route 32, we do have businesses that have shifted. So our business center has shifted. So that being said, how can we restore that sense that mill is a vibrant commercial hub? Well, I want to recognize Workshop 13 for the work that they do, and a great partner to start building on an arts concept. I know they're going to be bringing some, looking at a new space in the mill yard that they'll be able to expand their offerings. I want to acknowledge the work that's going on with the, as I said earlier, the Stoneyard Mill and what they're doing and updating that space. So we need to build on that. We need to market Ware. And we just funded at town meeting taking down a vacant structure on Main Street if the owner does not take it down themselves. We just funded a facade grant improvement program that some of the businesses on Main Street have used. So we have some things that we've done. We have some more work to do, but we've got to demonstrate Ware is a great place to be with great residents, great opportunity, and then bring the town's resources to supplement it and make it more vibrant than it is on Main Street today. That's what I would do as a select board member.
Kathy, would you like me to repeat the question? Or?
No, because I think in general, I know what you said, because it was something I mentioned early on. I recently had our high school reunion, and so I got a lot of feedback from friends that I went to high school with here, and you know, they come back to town after being years away, and I want to say a lot of them were very successful. So I do say for a small town, we always have done and continue to do well with our students. So I did want to give a plug for that, because it was something I really realized. One of the simplest things that I feel like we could do as a town, when people come into town, the first thing they see is they look around and they see things. So when they see, like I talked about before, some either non-painted or dilapidated buildings, overgrown areas that maybe even the town owns that I know I get frustrated with, and I say maybe we could just, when you see a lawn mowed, it just looks so much better, or areas. That the first part I would like to do is make sure that we're always looking at our appearance. And with that, one of the things I've thought about, again, wanting to be part of the board, is I really like to be part of helping more people have home ownership. I feel like when you own something, you take that much more pride. And I know we've got young people that have moved into town. I'm seeing more and more on social media. You know, I'm new to town. What's there for activities? Where should we go for food? So I do know new people are coming in. I'm hoping that we can get more people coming in and actually owning places. So maybe even some of these places that are kind of vacant or dilapidated, I would really like to see how we can work with our building people and our other department heads and even our banks to say, how can we get these buildings owned? Because that by itself would definitely make the town seem better, look better, and get people here and become taxpayers. So that's a big focus of what I was looking at. So I do want appearance to be kept up, simple things we can do. Hopefully, again, we can maybe even work with some of the landlords, reach out to the landlords. They may not be local, but say, hey, you know what? Your facade is really falling apart. Things aren't looking well. We do have some ordinances that maybe we should be enforcing a bit more so that we're not having I hate when I drive by and I see dumpsters overloaded and garbage out. That does not appear to be the town that I grew up in. And those are the things that people really, I want them to have pride again. I think that's important, town pride. And with that, I put so many different things down here. Like, we used to have more youth programs. I really want to look at that. And if youth are being kept out of our programming because of funding, we should be looking at that and maybe better addressing that so all kids can participate in many of the athletics that we have. So working with the Parks Department in that mode. Another big piece I really want to be involved in is, basically the old welcome wagon. Because I see we have people coming in and they don't know what's out there, I would really love to get a welcome group going. This one. Because I really would like to see this big package where they would have all that information of all our local businesses. We have many small businesses that people aren't even aware of. But I'll talk about that in future things, hopefully.
Right. So, Kathy, the next question will go to you. The fastest growing population in Ware and the country is senior citizens. Mm-hmm. What steps should the select board promote to ensure the town is age friendly?
Well, one of the things, again, that's what I work with every day. I love our elderly, I love our veterans, that's what I work with. And I have worked a lot with our senior center, with John and the group there, and we are designated. I don't even know if everybody in town knows that. We are designated senior friendly. We have done things already in town of making it more feasible for seniors to have access and to grow old here. Okay, so there are programs that are in place that we're working with. We need to communicate that better. I did talk with John recently, and again, another step that I would love to do if I became one of your board members is that I love how the seniors centers are thinking outside of the box, because we have seniors that have lived here their whole life and they want to stay here. And so what can we do to help them be able to stay in their homes? There are services, absolutely. I do know a lot of those services are able to come in. But one of the things I was really happy, and I would like to forward this with the senior center, is they're actually looking at maybe getting roommates for some of the seniors. Because maybe a senior can't live by themselves anymore for cost effectiveness wise and other things. But maybe we can look to hook them up either with another senior or someone else that's looking to maybe, come in and later on either take on the home, or all these different avenues that we could work with to keep the seniors here in place, healthy, be able to stay in their homes, and also even look at maybe even a little tax break. When you've been here a long time and you've been paying for a long time on your home, maybe that's something else that the town can be looking at. But our seniors are our backbones, as we know. They've participated generally all of their lives. They've paid taxes, they've raised their kids here, they've been part of the political process. And what can we now do to ensure that they're able to stay here? And again, working with our Board of Health, our Quabog Valley group, we have now better access with our van service. I love our senior center. I would like to do more with their services and their ability. They reach out. They know what the seniors need. And I think we as a community really need to listen and do the best we can to help access that. Because our seniors and our veterans are our backbone, and that's just the way I feel.
Ken, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
The fastest growing population in Ware and the country is senior citizens. What steps should the select board promote to ensure the town is age-friendly?
One of the first things is to ensure that we have supported public safety services. For a person to feel safe in their home, especially as they age, they want to know that they have a safety net through adequate and good police servicing, as well as the fire department and the ambulance. So maintaining those levels of services is critically important to maintaining a feeling of safety in your own home. Secondly is supporting the ongoing work of the senior center. The work that they do with the funds that are available is truly phenomenal. And John and his team really provide a wide wealth of programs. And in their annual report, they noted that in 2025 and beyond, they're looking at expanding the amount of in-home services they will provide and meeting folks in their home to do an assessment to see what types of services they might need or qualify for, and then connecting them to those services. So I think that's really important, is further supporting the work of John and the senior center team in getting into the community to meet folks in their home and to connect them to the services that are available. The third thing is working to have the town in our downtown area. We just had the sidewalks redone. Some of them are more user-friendly for folks to walk and to cross. But as a town, how can we make the town more accessible to folks who might have limited mobility? Increase the services, the Quabog connector, to be sure that folks are aware of that, to get them around, to get them to their meetings, to get them to their appointments, to take them shopping, and to support them while they stay in their home. The issue of the taxes is always top of mind for everybody. That's real. They feel it. It's something they see, and it's money that they're paying. So it's how can we look to see what other tax programs are available to help folks stay in their home. We do have a senior tax work-off program where a senior can apply to work in a municipal department and get an offset of their property tax. Are we fully maximizing that, and can we do a better job of getting that out to people and making them aware of it? So I believe it's a multi-pronged approach, but it builds on public safety, our existing senior center, and then looking to see what other tax programs are available to help folks stay in their home and minimize some of the impact of the taxes on their checkbook.
All right, so Ken, this one will go to you. What means do you intend to use to connect with the residents you would be serving? How do you intend to use such communication in your decision-making for the town?
So how do I plan to connect with the residents if I'm elected to the select board? First and foremost is just either by email or calling me. That would be the primary means, and I think it allows people to contact me at their life, at their time, when it's convenient for them, and I will respond to them. Being available at meetings certainly is another way, and going out and engaging with the community. If offered the invitation to speak at a public gathering of a club or a social group or any such thing, I certainly would welcome that and encourage that. And it's just making myself available to the residents as they need me. And the primary way would be by contacting me by phone or email. And if a follow-up meeting is required, I certainly would be open to doing that.
Kathy, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's good. Again, this is something else that I've always wanted to do since before being on the Board of Selectmen, and I certainly would do this now. One of the things I enjoy doing is going out and meeting people. So one of the first things that and I've done it, but I'd like to do more of, is going out, just walking their main streets, going to our local businesses, and just talking. I think, again, communication is key to understanding and hearing. And I know many of our small businesses don't actually, the owners don't actually live in town, or they can't make it to meetings. So I want to be accessible, and that's one of the ways I would do it, is just go out to be there. Going out to the senior center. I love going in there, seeing people, just being available. One of the other things I wanted to do and would do is to actually set up times. So whether if John would allow me to be at the senior center or even be down at the town hall, and set some actual times where people know, hey, she's there, I'm available, you don't have to call me or whatever, just know that I'm there, and come see me. I want to represent you. I know that's my job. If I'm on the Board of Selectmen, I'm not there representing me, Kathy. I need to hear from our citizens, and the only way I can represent you is if I do hear from you. So going to the senior center, being out there, going to the businesses, going to the actual events, and if somebody came up to talk to me, trust me, I engage. Sometimes I engage too long and we have to cut it off. But just being communicative with everyone, and I would like to do that though. Phone call's fine, but I want to be out there. And like I said, one of the things I will commit to doing that is setting up times and availability so that you could stop in, talk to me about anything. Now, understanding, and I just want to make this here, is that as a Board of Selectmen member, a lot of times people think the Board of Selectmen can do everything. And again, what I learned from my previous is we're limited in what we can do, but I certainly can bring issues forward and then direct it, get it brought to the appropriate channels, whether it be the town manager, and then he bring it to the different departments and things like that. But just know that I want to be that person that's available for you to be able to come to at any point, at any time.
All right, so we are going to have our final question, and after we ask this question and answer it, each of you will have a couple minutes to give your kind of closing statements. So this is a real tough question, and Kathy, you're going to answer it first.
Yours.
Here we go.
Okay.
What is your vision for Ware events and activities to celebrate the country's upcoming 250th anniversary of independence?
Oh my God, I love it.
I want to hear about downtown dinners and big themes.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. That is a committee that I didn't want to be on the committee, but I want to do the events. I want to come up with all the events. So my ideas are too many to list right here. Definitely want to have the ham and bean supper back on Main Street. We need to do that again when we shut down Main Street, set up the tables, have a fun time, for sure. We definitely have to do a fun firework display. But the one thing I really, because there's so many, I could talk for 3 hours talking about all the events that we could do. One of the things I want to make sure that we do, though, as a town is that we check out our local towns so that we're not doing big events the same time other towns are doing their big events, because we want to get everybody coming to ours, right? So we need to make sure that we need to just do our calendar up for the year so we know what's going on everywhere. But one of the big things I would love to see done is can you tell I get too excited? Is like a big ball, a big generational ball in our town hall. I want to decorate our town hall out. I would love to see people come in all period dress. So whether you want to come in the roaring 20s, or our kids would think that they're crazy if they come in the 2000, I guess, or 90s or 80s. They may think that's so long ago. But any decade that you want to come in and have like a big band, have just fun, and have the Main Street again shut down. Maybe we have horse-drawn carriages come through. That's one of the big things I would love to see. And then I know our town can do it well because we've shown it already. I love our holiday events, between the park with the fun Halloween. That has gone like crazy, that people come from all over to see that, and then our Christmas event. So next year, we could just run wild with so many different things. But I hope we have stuff on a regular basis. And that, what I wanted to say, is where we can get that pride back in town, too. Because I want to get everybody involved. From our students, we need to get them involved. What do they want to do? I'd love to see a big parade with floats, the old-fashioned parade where we have floats and bands and just celebrate. I want a year of celebration, and I'm so looking forward to it. So, thank you.
Ken, would you like me to repeat the
Please.
question? What is your vision for Ware events and activities to celebrate the country's 250th anniversary of independence?
In celebrating our 250th anniversary of independence, it's really a special time in our lives to think that our democracy was established only 250 years ago, and that the role Massachusetts played in that. The Ware Meeting House has already done a really great job with the third graders annually by taking them around the town and spending a day with them and introducing them to the history of Ware, the history of the Meeting House. So how can we build on that to add into it what was Ware like back in the time our country was founded? And then how did it progress? Taking Main Street and turning it into a party for a day or a weekend would be a wonderful thing. And integrating in, as Kathy had mentioned, those community events, the ham and bean supper, the ball, and the things that used to happen. But maybe a farmer's market, maybe a flea market, anything to bring people together to celebrate what Ware was, and also to build the foundation of what we can be in the future. The Historical Commission brought Lafayette to celebrate the Lafayette tree and his visit to Ware. That was a wonderful event. To have a costumed interpreter come and to take the persona of Lafayette and to talk about what was happening in the world at that time, and then connect it to Ware and how Ware was supportive of that and was involved in the founding efforts of our nation and what we as a town did. Bringing that back in different ways, shapes, and form, using the Great Hall, which is at the Town Hall, or using the Ware Meeting House to have this, and to recreate some of those events that have happened in town history and have been documented, to recreate the town meeting where we demonstrated we're the town that can't be licked, where we funded $55,000 to purchase the assets of the Otis Manufacturing Company, to recreate those and to remind people not only of where we've been, but where we've come, I think would be wonderful ways to do it.
All right, and before we get into our closing statements, I just again want to thank Stanley and Ware Community Televisions for being able to have this forum. I want to thank both of the candidates for their involvement and for running for this position. It's a great task to undertake, and thank you both for going for it. I also especially want to thank the community members that send in questions. I received about 20 questions. They were all well thought out and very informed, so it's good to see that in the residents of a town. So, Ken, we will start with you for your closing statement. I'll give you 1 minute.
Thank you. And I want to thank, again, Paula and Stanley and Kathy for this opportunity. I think one of the big differences between Kathy and myself is our view as to where the money from the Gilbert Trust should go. And just so folks understand that the town is currently working with Bay State, and we understand that a lot of people have concerns about that, about Bay State as an entity and can then be trusted. So it's been clearly stated to Bay State that that money is now forever attached to Ware. That position has been made clear and has been understood, so that money will remain in Ware. So with that said, I welcome the opportunity to serve the town. I look forward to August 12th, which is Election Day, and the polls are open 10 till 5. And if you would like to get an absentee or a mail-in ballot, you can request that of our town clerk by August the 5th. So what's important is you vote, because that's what's going to determine who represents you on your select board. So I ask for your support and look forward to serving you. Thank you.
So a big piece I want to say is thank you also, and ditto to all the things that he said about the election and when it is, and thank you for saying that, Ken. And thank you for being here. Again, this shows what goes on at local small elections here. One thing I want to say, and I took a few notes so I don't forget, is I just want to ask for your vote. I hope that you will come out. I hope that you will vote for me if you think that I, and what I've said here, will represent what you're looking for in a Board of Selectmen. Feel free to reach out to me, because there's a lot of topics that we didn't get a chance to discuss. That you have any questions, again, I want to be able to answer them to you. So I want you to be able to go into that voting booth on August 12th and vote for one of us, feeling confident in which way you decide to go. I want to say each candidate is good. We each have our viewpoints on different things, and it's up to you to decide, right? That's what it's all about. I do promise to listen. Okay, that's one of the things I feel like sometimes is lacking in some of our elected officials. I promise to listen to you, to be available. Okay, and I want to push our board to follow through and get things done, again, moving things that way. I feel like we shouldn't have to settle. We deserve the best, and we deserve our community working as a team, from our department heads, from our elected officials, from our appointed officials to our citizens, all working to make this town the great town it always was and will continue to be. So I appreciate your vote. Look forward to everybody coming out August 12th. Thank you so much. And again, thank you everybody here.